Hello chums, and welcome to the Fastest Lap series, where I'll be putting all of the road cars in Gran Turismo 7 to the test. Each car will be scrutinised in a few ways, once with no upgrades and comfort soft tyres, once with all upgrades and racing soft tyres, and once with an engine swap if the option is available. All cars are tested on a PlayStation 5 controller because I am an unsophisticated proletarian, and I drive each car with no driver assists except for ABS. I am by no means a professional, but I can usually complete a lap without binning my car into a wall, so hopefully I can do each car justice. The chosen test track is the Nurburgring Sprint course for its variety of corner types, along with a few longer straights to test every aspect of a car's performance. Let's see today's contender. A Tesla. Is there anything that's more of a contradiction to the bare-bones 8-litre Viper that I featured in the previous episode? This is the Model 3 Performance, which is the fastest version of Tesla's smallest car. I would usually make a sweeping generalization about the sort of person who owns this car, but I can't think of how to offend as many people as possible. Okay, how about this? The Tesla Model 3 is driven by a witless virtue signaller who is misinformed enough to think that you can consume your way out of climate change with a 2-ton behemoth. Quick disclaimer for the more troubled of viewers. I do not think that all Tesla drivers are witless virtue signallers, but I guarantee somebody will take that comment seriously. Secondly, I cannot talk about the history of this car without mentioning Elon Musk, and I cannot mention Elon Musk without taking the absolute piss out of him. If you are fragile enough to mistake poking fun at celebrities for a political statement, you're more than welcome to go away. Throughout the early 2010s, the world's perception of what an electric car can do changed when the Tesla Model S was released. While the company's mentally challenged CEO deserves none of the credit for its achievements, the car showed that an EV can bring the fight to the world's best internal combustion cars. And how did it do that? By behaving like a car! With excellent acceleration, a comparable power output to the established German executive cars, a low centre of gravity, and a decent enough range, the Tesla Model S proved that an EV could do what a petrol car can do. Not only that, but it could do it in complete silence. That low centre of gravity, thanks to the battery pack being mounted underneath the floor, gave the Model S handling that almost completely offset the obscene weight of the thing. On average, it was over 300 kilograms heavier than your garden variety AMG or M car. To put 300 kilograms into perspective, imagine filling your car with 110 chihuahuas. Pretty soon after the Model S took the world by storm, the unforgivably hideous Model X SUV was unveiled to open up another market for the brand. While it was all very well having an E-Class competitor and a Range Rover competitor, you could hardly accuse Tesla of being accessible for the common human. The dough-faced ketamine addict in charge of the company announced that the next car would have a starting price of somewhere around $35,000, which was obviously codswallop. The new car, named the Model 3 because Tesla was unable to get the rights to call it the Model E, was aimed squarely at the Mercedes C-Class and BMW 3 Series. Why did the muskrat want to call it the Model E? Well, that's easy. He wanted the Model S, the Model 3, and the Model X to spell the word sex. This is the world's richest man. The overall design is very similar to the Model S, with the only major styling change being the much smoother front end with no front grille, a look the Model S emulated in its next update. Much like its bigger sibling, the Model 3 had the very useful double trunk layout with storage under the bonnet as well as in the back. The downside of this is cooling. You may find that many performance-oriented electric cars do not have a front boot or frunk. Generally, cars like the Hyundai Ioniq 5N have a cooling system there instead, which allows you to use the car's performance for longer. The Model 3 instead limited power during heavy use in order to save the battery pack from overheating. Now, I'm not sure who's taking these things on track days, but I'd rather have the extra storage, to be honest. While the Model S competed with the E-Class and the 5 Series, the Model 3 underwent a number of changes to bring costs down. So even when compared to the Model S, the interior is minimalistic. Interior panels were simplified with fewer materials used. The switches for the electric seats will fall off if you look at them funny, the carpets are exactly the same quality as those found in a Dacia Sandero, and on early models the rear bumper would fall off if you drove through a large puddle. There were also panel gaps that you could slide a suitcase through in some models, and in some cases if you drove too fast the paint would fall off the corners of the wheel arches. Still, some of those issues were fixed over the years, and there's no denying that the Model 3 gives the Germans a run for their money. But will that translate on Gran Turismo? Like all unmodified cars in this series, this car has no upgrades that affect the performance in any way, and it is fitted with comfort soft tyres. The reason all cars are fitted with Comfort soft tyres is because they will give a very rough approximation of how the real-life car will perform on some fancy Michelin Pilot Sport tyres, which are some of the better summer tyres on the market which are road-biased but can handle a track day. While the sports tyres would be faster, there aren't many cars on the street rolling around on Cup 2R tyres. The Model 3 is not a nice car to drive, especially with Comfort soft tyres. Much like the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, the brakes are more of a glancing suggestion at slowing down than anything useful. For some reason, pulling the handbrake for a second or two will actually reduce braking distances, so that's what I did here. It's completely unrealistic, but it gives us a better idea of what this car is capable of in this game at least. It gets a 1 minute 40.784, just behind the Hyundai as well as a 25-year-old Dodge Viper. Electric cars in Gran Turismo 7 get a pretty rough deal once upgraded, since the only thing you can do to improve power is a simple ECU upgrade, which means that the Model 3 still makes under 600 horsepower, where other cars in the same category will be making closer to 900. On the other hand, the Tesla does go on a rather humongous diet of 600 kilograms, and it still has instant power delivery along with high downforce and all-wheel drive. Like all upgraded cars, this one is on racing soft tyres and has every performance upgrade available, including the wide body, any visual options that add downforce, and the body rigidity increase. For the setup, there's not really much you can do outside the suspension and downforce settings. Rear downforce is not as high as it could be since the Tesla's top speed is nowhere near high enough to cause stability issues. The suspension, meanwhile, is very generic, lowered, stiffened, and zero toe to make it slightly more nimble. The weight loss program has massively improved the brakes, though it still helps to pull the handbrake, something I'm fairly certain you can't do in a moving Tesla. With racing tyres and downforce, the Tesla is buttery smooth, very easy to drive, and it gets a time of 1 minute 24.880. That time places the Tesla just ahead of the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. It's also just behind the Mark III Supra, a car that unfortunately did not perform as well as its statistics would suggest. The stock car, meanwhile, is behind a geriatric 8-litre Viper, and it's behind the stock Hyundai. Should you buy a Tesla Model 3 in Gran Turismo? Well, definitely not if you don't plan on upgrading it. Once all the go faster bits are on, it's better than you might expect, so possibly worth a try. So, that was the first Tesla. Join me next time where I will be driving something that actually makes a noise. Thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I'll be very grateful for your subscription. Take care now, and ta-ra.